Hey everyone, we're back with another episode of Find Your Film. I can barely speak because I see two weird creatures, monsters on our video feed. You can catch our video podcast on Bruce Perky's YouTube channel, Rustomeyer. I'm a little bit halting right now because I think we're celebrating Halloween. And yeah, it's me, Greg Srzavasti, Bruce Perky, and his son, Andrew. They're
Hi.
Like,
yes. Hello, hey, guys. What are you dressed up as? Are you, or is that a getup, or is that you guys? What is that, Bruce? Oh,
this is what happens when I take off my makeup. It looks like this.
and Andrew, do you always look like the emaciated version of Ghost Rider? Who are you, Andrew? Who are you?
I'm always skinny, so I'm as myself without makeup.
Okay. And Eric Holmes, how are you, buddy? You doing all right?
I don't know, getting kind of creeped out with these creatures of the night in front of me.
And Eric Holmes, if you guys watch the video feed, he has a really nice red De Palma-esque background behind him, which I totally endorse. And I just have a stupid yellow orangish shirt, so I'm really not celebrating Halloween as much as these guys are. First off, Eric Holmes, Halloween, is that your favorite holiday of the year, or one of them, or are you a big fan of that holiday?
I do like Halloween. I've throughout the years we've positioned ourselves to be the house that gives away the cool key and the cool prizes and stuff. And so on paper it looks a little your old man really wants the kids to be the house to go to on Halloween, but it's all above board, I guarantee it. This year will be fun. We'll be handing out Magic the Gathering cards, and my
Cool.
niece is making little magic wands. So I'll be dressing up as a wizard, handing out magic paraphernalia and candy.
Well, I'm going to do some kind of magic right now before I get to you guys. I'm going to change the Wi-Fi connection. So, Bruce, you're going to have to edit this a little bit on the feed, and we're going to freeze for 1 second.
So
I apologize. Bruce, Andrew, are you guys really huge fans of Halloween? Is this what do you guys usually do for Halloween?
Yeah, we like it a lot. We definitely try to do fun stuff. We actually had the fog machine hooked up in here too, but it was a little bit too confined for the fog machine. We kind of smoked ourselves out. So we'll use that for the people to come, and maybe a monkey might appear. And we do have one more friend we want to introduce you to before we start here.
Okay.
It's audio. Might be a little loud, so.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's not working.
It's not on? Let's see, hang on.
Oh, it's not on. Oh, no. Was it going to be what is that? Is that a dragon, or is it a black cat? I'm trying to look. What is it? It was a raven? Is that a raven? Oh.
He's getting a little dying. He's dying. The end is near for him, I think. I'll turn him off now so we don't have to endure this anymore.
It sounds like he's making fun of someone that's complaining about something.
Usually set it up. Don't touch it anymore. It'll stop.
Scary. And what is that, Eric Holmes?
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Eric Holmes has.
Geez,
what is
I didn't
the
see
name?
that.
That's a gremlin. That's a gremlin. What is that? What is a Strike, or what is his name?
Stripe.
Sparky.
Sparky?
Stripe,
No,
yeah.
Strike. The bad one. The bad gremlin. The main bad guy. What's the main bad guy? His name? Stripe. Yes.
We're adding all kinds of visual elements, so people have to watch the video too. I'll add one more visual element, then we can get started here.
Okay.
This is my Creep Show comic book
Oh, nice.
from the day that has the entire movie in comic book form.
Oh, I remember. I actually remember that. Are you a fan of Creepshow, Bruce Perky? That movie? You were a fan of the film, or?
Yeah, the first one for sure. The second one's pretty good. The series is okay that they came out with recently.
I like the dollhouse.
Yeah, we had one episode we really liked of the brand new series was called The House of the Head instead of The Head of the House. That one's really good.
Okay, Creepshow. I've never, are you a Creepshow person, Eric? Have you seen your share of Creepshow stuff?
I've seen one of the movies for sure. So I get that one and Tales from the Dark Side mixed up. Which one's Creep Show? Is that the one with the dude turns into the swamp monster thing? Okay,
that's Creep Show.
Yeah,
and it's all it was all like George Romero and mixed with Tom Savini and Stephen King.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so for this episode, it's going to be a special Halloween episode. We're going to have a lot of Halloween themed films. I think maybe there might be one or two films that are not even Halloween themed. But our first review will be, before we get to the rewinds and everything, we're going to start off right off the top. We won't bury the lead. I am a little bit nervous because I did not get a lot of reactions from Eric Holmes, Bruce Perky, or Andrew regarding Come Play, a movie that I absolutely really enjoyed. Okay, Come Play. It hits theaters Friday, October 30th. Bruce, do you want to start off with your just like a little mini recap, mini review on what Come Play is about?
Sure. So, Come Play is about a little boy named Oliver, his mother, Sarah, and his father, Marty. And the mother and father are kind of, I think they're on the verge of separating or in the process of separating. He has some level of autism, and he seems like kind of a lonely kid, kind of somewhat picked on at school. And there's this app that kind of appears on his phone that's sort of like a storybook.
Wait, an app?
Or like a storybook, yeah.
Doesn't it just appear?
Yeah, it just kind of appears, and it's a story of what does it say? A monster, Larry the monster who needs friends, or something like that.
Misunderstood monster.
Misunderstood monsters, yes. And very quickly we start to discover that possibly that storybook and looking at that storybook might cause Larry to actually manifest, and that's kind of the basic setup.
Right. And Oliver, the kid who's on the autism spectrum, his parents is Sarah. Sarah is played by uh, Gillian Jacobs. How do you say Gillian Jacobs?
I think it's
Jacobs?
Gillian.
Jacobs. Okay. And also John Gallagher Jr. is Marty, his father. So Sarah and Marty, they're on. This is not a spoiler. They are sort of a little bit on the outs. They're not getting along. Marty's kind of the guy with a little bit of an Arrested Development sort of nature. He's sort of a kid at heart, which is cool. We all three of us are kind of kids at heart anyway. We can relate to that character. But so Marty bonds a lot with Oliver, but Oliver's mom, Sarah, is she's a little bit of a taskmaster. She's on Oliver a lot because she's the one who does all the heavy lifting. So that's basically the premise of Come Play. And Eric, what did you ultimately think about Come Play? It's the feature writing and directing debut of Jacob Chase, and it's an expansion of his previous short, Larry, which came out in 2007. Did you like it? Did you love it? Were you in the middle of this?
Well, I didn't see Larry, but as far as Come Play goes, I like this one. It was kind of real similar to the Babadook, where at first it's kind of, is this thing real, is it not, or is it like a metaphor? And I guess it's kind of both, really. But I mean, within the framework of the movie, everything's, as far as I could tell, is actually happening. But yeah, it's a kind of a neat concept. The kid can't talk, so he's got to use his app to talk, but then the app's the thing that causes trouble, or does it? Because that's kind of the main point, isn't it? Whether or not Larry the misunderstood, I mean, it says right at the beginning, the misunderstood monster. So my first thought when I saw that was, oh, this is a Frankenstein story. This is the monster that everyone's afraid of, that maybe they don't need to be afraid of it. And it kind of plays with that a little bit. Without giving anything away, it's maybe the monster is misunderstood, maybe the monster is dangerous, maybe it's got the potential for both. And I thought it was a really cool thriller. There's some parts that kind of bug me, but like any movie, not worth mentioning. Overall, it's a really good movie, I thought.
Oh, cool. Well, I like the parking lot sequences. John Gallagher Jr. playing the dad, he's the parking lot attendant, and there are a couple of scenes where, not to give too much away, Larry may or may not appear in the parking lot. Those tense sequences really got to me. I thought it was scary enough. The third act, I really enjoyed. The final moment in the movie, which Bruce and Andrew and I had some sort of exchange and conversation. We're not going to give that away. I found that I got a little bit teary-eyed at the end, not to give too much away regarding what happens with Come Play. I thought ultimately the movie, to me, in my review, I was saying it's more of a family drama than a horror thriller. It's really good as far as the scares, but I think ultimately it's about family. And one of the producers of this is Amblin Partners. So coming from Spielberg, you do get a little bit of that Spielberg sheen to it, a little bit. You could, or J.J. Abrams. You're thinking of J.J. Abrams' earlier stuff. So I really like that element to come play. I just wonder. My only question is, if you're a real horror enthusiast and you're expecting something completely different, will you be? Will this movie win you over? And that's why I wanted to hand it over to you, Bruce, and your son Andrew. I want to hear what you guys think of the movie.
You want to go first?
Well, wait, are we talking about the Complaint movie?
Yes.
I must say the classroom in the movie, I do not like at all. Cause saying that I go to school,
Yeah.
I do not like the classroom. It is no. Why was there?
Oh, it's not Andrew. It's not realistic, or it's just
Yes,
not.
it's just not realistic at all.
Oh God! What
I would not find the classroom.
what made it so unrealistic to you as far as the classroom
Well,
goes?
you got that big chalkboard at the front. You don't
Mhm.
got any like type of electronic or computer. None of that.
Okay.
Everyone's got these desks that
Yeah.
don't they like open or
I didn't pay that close of attention to the classroom.
Andrew, you sound like a future production designer. I'm liking it. I'm liking this.
Very spooky desk, to be sure.
Yeah. What else? What else, Andrew? What are some of the things that you didn't like about it? Maybe a couple things you liked about it overall.
I'm thinking. I don't. That would be spoilers, wouldn't it be? I don't know.
It's hard to talk about spoilers, that's for sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrew, for not mentioning spoilers. Why don't you percolate a little bit, Bruce?
Yeah.
Why don't you jump in and give us your thoughts?
I was kind of right in the middle on this. I was middle of the road. I liked the suspense. I liked the way that they played with how they revealed or didn't reveal the Larry guy, and like how they really played a lot with kind of creeping up the appearances or non-appearances that he had. Those scenes I thought were really really well performed. My biggest gripes, I guess, with the movie would be like some of these movies, I wanted to understand the logic. Like I wanted to understand exactly how Larry is supposed to work. And that part never quite gelled for me. Like there's something with, and once again, not spoiling things, but there's something with electronics, but I wasn't quite clear on whether he was more powerful or less powerful, or there was stuff going on there that didn't quite gel. And there was the storybook aspect, which kind of was supposed to like kind of conjure him maybe, but then the story kept getting added to. So as it went, we kept getting more of the story. And then I'm like, it's kind of like it was changing the rules as it went to me. And that I kind of wanted it to be really clear. And it's funny because this is the lead to my next movie that we watched this week when I review it, and that I think is a better example of doing something similar. But it was good. It wasn't great. It was kind of like, kind of right down the middle.
Good, but not great.
Yeah.
Eric, you would say good, but not great as well. You'd go.
I would go pretty good. I guess if we're talking about parts that bug me, I think the worst parts about this were the jump scares. And I think if they took out all the jump scares and just made this more of a mood piece, kind of similar to, and I'm not a big fan of Babadook, so crucify me for that if you like, but something more along the lines of Babadook or even Relic, because they shares a lot in common with Relic, even though the stories are like completely different. Even the ending kind of had me. This and the ending to Relic are not at all alike, other than that it kind of hit me in a similar emotional way.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot to like in this movie, and it was kind of like one of those. I think if they took out the jump scares and just leaned on the suspense.
Mm-hmm.
And then also maybe kind of like what Bruce says, kind of explain the rules a bit, or even, lean more towards what Larry is or isn't. I
Yes.
can't say much more than that without giving stuff away.
Right.
But this is like, one rewrite and this would have been a great
Yep.
movie. As it is, it's still pretty good. I still like it quite a bit.
Cool.
Just
Cool.
to add on to what Eric's saying, like I'll give an example, which it's not really revealing anything, but there's a point where some characters are using a device, and when they aren't looking through the device, they don't see Larry. But when they look through the device, they can see Larry. And that's really cool and effective and really simple. And it's very, and you kind of can creep. You can, and every time you see him in that moment, it's not a jump scare. It's just a creepy scare. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, whoa, he's there. Oh my gosh, it's really, what's going to happen? That kind of stuff I think works really well as opposed to, like you said, a zinger, that's supposed to just like, make you startled. So I think that like heightening the creepiness and just tightening down like exactly how it works, I think would have just elevated it that little extra level.
So a little bit more monster world building in this movie. Just a little bit more. A little bit more. Yeah.
I do want to point out the kid that played the main kid's friend, the one that looks like a really young Patton Oswalt.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is fantastic in this. Like I don't know why, but he really stood out to me as far as a child actor.
Winslow Fegley, he plays Byron, the guy who's the main bully.
Yeah, he was just like the normal bully kid, but then there was kind of a turning point with his character, and then he was just doing some stuff that I was like, God damn, he's pretty fucking good.
So that would be another example where it's like we find out about the relationship between those two characters later on, but we kind of needed to know it earlier because there's a point early on when those two are put together and you're like, why are they putting those two together? Like, why are they together right now? But if I had known a little of that backstory, then I would have understood that. And then I wouldn't have had, and it just would have deepened it earlier. Because when it did come around, I understood what was going on between those two. I was like, oh, I really like that. That's a really cool, realistic element. So just those little things would have tightened it up slightly, I think.
And we're going to close out with you, Andrew. Final thoughts on this film, on Come Play.
I have two thoughts right now.
Okay, good.
Why has nobody mentioned the SpongeBob parts? And,
okay, very cool.
Why does no one ever just run out? I mean, why just like stand there and be like, oh no, I must hide. Not just run out.
Very good points. Good points. Yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but those are good, valid points. But did you want to mention SpongeBob, Andrew? Anything? Did you like the way it was integrated into the story at all?
It was more like just something to be there.
Yeah, yes. Unfortunately, Andrew, that's how most people describe me as a human being. So that's not.
Well, you are wearing yellow right now, so I don't know if your pants are square.
I'm trying to stand out. Okay, so I guess that it's for me. Come Play is a high recommend. For Bruce, it is a good.
I would say a good recommend. It's a good family scary movie. I think that's good for that.
Yeah.
Okay, and Andrew, this is for you. It's a no recommend. No recommend. No.
I mean, I don't know.
It's an I don't know for Andrew, and then Eric Holmes. It is a.
This is a recommend. It's got some flaws, but overall, I think it's pretty good.
Okay. All right. That is Come Play. Hits theaters October 30th. And now our next thing is before we get to our main movie recommendations. Oh, you guys are looking at. Oh, but Andrew, thank you for joining us. Very much. Anything you want to say before you leave? Any final thoughts?
I like how my red shirt matches his red lights.
Very cool. Very cool.
Very spooky shirt.
He's out.
He is out.
My kid's a harder reviewer than I am. Wow.
Oh, wait, Andrew, by the way, thank you so much for the music for our show.
He just said thank you for the music.
So
he's already out. He's
by
gone.
Andrew's ready to just nap, which is
SpongeBob's
understandable.
on. I got to get out of here.
Yeah. No, but by the way, Andrew is the guy who does our opening music for our show for Find Your Film. So thank you so much, Andrew, for that, and thank you for your I don't know comment regarding Come Play. Very honest, very very honest. Now, before we get into our weekly recommendations, especially for this Halloween episode, we have a bit of a movie rewind. from Eric Holmes, and like he always likes to do, he likes to slather his choices with weird kind of contraptions. But Black Cat Part Deux? What's going on with this? What do you have for us? What is that with the Black Cat?
Two very spooky movies: The Black Cat and another movie called The Black Cat. We got Black Cat 1934, which I was supposed to rewind last week, but I found out that Bruce saw. But I actually watched the 1941 movie, also called Black Cat. Let's see, that one is directed by Albert S. Rogel, made in 1941, and it says it's based on The Black Cat by Edgar Allan Poe, which is what I thought that the other one was, but apparently not. Because this is a way different story than the Bela Lugosi and the other guy, Boris Karloff.
Boris Karloff. Yeah.
This one's basically this old lady and her cat, and they find a bunch of dead cats, and then people want to kill her because they want her inheritance, but her inheritance goes towards the cats, and it's kind of a comedy, sort of, and it's not very good, so I would just skip it. So I'm going to move along to, hold on. We got
skip the 1941 version of Black Cat.
It's fine. It's a movie technically, so that it's got that going for it. But the 1934 one with Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff, that one. Okay,
Bruce loved it, right? Bruce, you loved that.
This movie's pretty good. I had this thought while I was watching this movie, and I don't know if you agree with me or not. Is Bela Lugosi the Nick Cage of his day?
Yes.
Because I'm watching Boris Karloff, and it's like, yeah, he's kind of. I'm looking at Boris Karloff, like, dude, he's reminding me so much of Michael Shannon right now. And then Boris Karloff or Bela Lugosi comes in, and just like does all these weird, like, I could see them remaking this movie with Michael Shannon as Boris Karloff's character and Nick Cage as Bela Lugosi's character.
I agree.
I can't remember all the lines, but dude, Bela Lugosi's got some bangers in there.
Yes. And I was going to say, like, to me, that the price of admission is good just based on any time that they interact with each other, and the acting is just, it's over the top, but it's super fun. And then there's some stuff that's in the basement, which visually is really cool, but I don't want to say what they find down there.
Oh, what was that line that he had? I will felt your skin off or something. I can't remember.
Some weird stuff. Oh, towards the end. Yeah, there's some good stuff. It's got a dark ending too.
Fetch the skin from your bone, or I don't know. He's a weirdo, but in like the best way possible. And
sorry, Eric, this is your first Edgar G. Ulmer film. Edgar G. Ulmer is known as one of those. I think he's one of those Poverty Row filmmakers from back in the day, but he's known for actually bringing a ton of value to a very, I guess, cheaply made movie in the sense of the budget. Did you notice when you're watching the movie that there's a little bit of a visionary behind? Did you notice it? It's a distinct vision? Or
yeah, there's some of that, and I'm looking it up right now. Apparently, he was a set designer on Der Golem, so this is not the first Edward G. Ulmer movie I've seen.
Very cool.
But I would check out more of his movies, specifically if he's got any more with Bela Lugosi, because he's just fucking nuts in this one. And Edward, that Edward Ulmer guy, he's pretty good. And there was a really good scene, not at the end, but like kind of towards when they're ramping up towards the climax, where Boris Karloff's getting tied up, and they're about to do stuff to him, and I had to look away, and it turns out they didn't show anything, but that was a really really successful part in scaring me and getting a little suspenseful there.
I think also it's just unusual for the era because it's not, Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, Mummy. It's this weird. It's more of like a revenge drama almost than anything.
Yeah,
so.
It almost seems like a spy movie sometimes. Mm-hmm. I mean, it kind of was, because the main thrust of the story is who's doing what and who's not doing what and so on and so forth. But yeah, it definitely plays out more of a spy movie than it does a horror. But I mean, it definitely has its horror elements.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yes.
so The Black Cat, 1934, directed by Edgar G. Ulmer, starring, yeah, like you were saying, Eric, for the 41 story as well. It's based on a story by Edgar Allan Poe. I forgot, where is it streaming? Amazon Prime Video, YouTube, Black Cat.
This one, I believe I rented it on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
It might be streaming on the Amazon too. Just make sure you get the right, because there's this one, there's the 1941 Black Cat. I think there's another from the 60s, and there's another one from the 80s. I'm guessing there's probably 100 movies called the Black Cat. And
It's
the
not
two
scary though, right? The movie's not scary. It's just fun to watch.
This one's it's more suspenseful, I guess, and more of a mystery. More of a spy thriller than it is a horror. But it's not too scary, except the one part where they're about to do the thing to Boris Karloff that I thought was. I'm so used to things just being like really gory. I'm like, oh, here we go. Okay.
Bruce, and I forgot, was this more a Boris films or Bella's film? Who
I'd say
actually?
they're pretty equal. Bella is like kind of the main, the main storyteller of like what has happened and what's leading to all this, and you've got Boris Karloff as kind of the main antagonist. I would say they both kind of have equally scene chewing moments. So
Okay, all right. The Black Cat, if you want scenery chewing moments with a visionary director, Edgar G. Ulmer, check out The Black Cat, 1934. Bruce Perky, you're going to Burbs Perky, I know what that's in reference to.
yeah.
Burbs Perky, you're going to actually lead us off to our first recommendation this week. What do you got?
Sure. Yeah. So this is one that probably most people have seen out there, but some people might not have, or they might have not have seen it for a long time. And what this last week, Andrew and I have been seeing a ton of movies together. So right after we watched Come Play, I was thinking, this reminds me a lot in some of the dynamics of another PG or PG-13 rated movie that I think was scarier and still stands the test of time really well. I went and watched it with him, and sure enough, it did. And that is Gore Verbinski's The Ring, which is, of course, a remake that came out in 2002. Super famous movie at this point. Unfortunately, I'm not going to go through the twist, but most people know the twist. It's kind of become an iconic thing. And I was lucky enough to actually have seen this when it first came out, like the first weekend. So I saw it in a theater full of high school students that were laughing at it and stuff all the way through until there was a twist that they did not see coming, and they just lost their shit. Now, if you don't know what The Ring is, the super quick synopsis is there's kind of almost an urban folk tale. These two girls at the start are telling each other about this mysterious tape, and if you watch the tape, right afterwards a phone rings and it says 7 days, and you have 7 days before you will be killed somehow by watching that tape. So it's a cursed videotape. Naomi Watts plays the main character. She's a reporter, and a friend of the family's girl has died supposedly, and she finds out about this tape. She goes and actually watches the tape, and then the rest of the movie is her trying to uncover the mystery and hopefully save herself and maybe other people that have viewed the tape. Once again, I think a lot of people forget how interesting Gore Verbinski can be as a filmmaker. And I think that he's kind of like one of the first ones to kind of get wrapped up in what a lot of filmmakers do now, which is a lot of filmmakers now are sucked up by the MCU, right? They do a couple interesting movies. They end up getting an Iron Man or a Thor. And back then he got, all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and he kind of just got sucked up by that for, I don't know, what do you think, 8 years, 9 years?
Yeah.
Forever. Too long.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen any earlier Gore Verbinski, or you kind of have pushed him off and forgotten about him, go back and watch this. Was it The Weatherman?
The Weatherman with Nicolas Cage. That's also a very interesting performance. He was good.
And I even stand behind, and it's a panned movie, and it's a later movie, but I even stand by A Cure for Wellness as almost like a neo Hammer film. If you can kind of go in it with that attitude, it can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Eric, have you seen A Cure for Wellness?
No.
Well, that movie is, I remember for cinematics, I gave it a pretty bad review. And unfortunately, here's the thing, Bruce, you're completely right. I was thinking, even if you're negative, if you give A Cure for Wellness a negative review, it has so many interesting elements
Yep.
visually and as a narrative construct. I just didn't think it worked as far as I didn't like the lead. I didn't think he was that great in it. I
Yeah.
just I just wanted so much out of it because it's such an interesting film.
It's, I think if you are familiar with that kind of older Hammer style, really once again, overheated, I've said that before. This is a really weird movie. And if you kind of go into it expecting more of a realism kind of a movie, it doesn't fit. And we're reviewing a different movie now. We shouldn't be doing that.
No, I think
Anyway,
that's
I
awesome
would
that
say
we're
that's another one to check out. I wanted to add a couple little fun little bits to The Ring, which obviously, oh, also The Ring is available. I think
Crackle.
Yeah,
Crackle.
Crackle.
Yeah.
I'd watch it on DVD because we're trying to do that as well. So,
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah, love that.
I found some interesting trivia about it. I guess when they first were releasing The Ring in theaters, they would randomly leave video to cassettes of the Ring video in theaters, just randomly
Wow.
leave it places for people to find unlabeled. So I
That's
thought that was
scary.
pretty cool. And there was an original ending to The Ring, which is really, really cool, that involves leaving the videotape someplace, which I won't tell you. But if you have the DVD version, you can watch some of the alternate endings, and there's some pretty interesting stuff there. It's a lot of fun.
That is a really cool callback, The Ring. So that's Gore Verbinski's always been an interesting filmmaker. It's weird that A Cure for Wellness, which was released in 2016, is the last movie he's done. And even before that, he directed The Lone Ranger, which I still haven't seen, which I hear isn't as bad as one would think. So
He is a really technically skilled filmmaker. He just needs to get a good script because I think he's got a lot more in him if he gets a chance. So
okay, very cool. The Ring, and we love you, Gore Verbinski. Okay, so Eric Holmes, what's your next pick?
My next one, group. It's going to be a good show. Let me tell you about the guy named Ghoulardi. I'm not going to do that forever, but it'd be nice if I did. Hey, what the hell? Maybe I do. Phil Hoffman, he's a good guy, no? Not from Parma, I tell you that much, right? He's a good guy. Very good. Check
That's
him
a
out.
very good
Phil
boy.
Hoffman. On the YouTubes, he's got his YouTube channel. And on his YouTube channel, he's got Turn Blue. Short Life Ghoulardi. Don't know who that guy is, but I'll call him King. It's a YouTube video by Phil Hoffman, which I believe he was friends with Ghoulardi. Ghoulardi, if you don't know, is Ernie Anderson, who's most people know his son, Paul Thomas Anderson. But I think he's probably best known for Ghoulardi, and even more so is his voice. He does like the voice of the Love Boat or the if you heard him do his radio voice or TV guy voice, you'd be, oh, I've heard him on everything. But it just kind of the Ghoulardi show. It was a show in Ohio, and it was kind of a USA Up All Night type of
Sure.
feature sort of thing, and he kind of turned into a local legend. And he only did it from 63 to 66. And it just kind of, this Turn Blue, The Short Life of Ghoulardi, it kind of goes over his antics, the popularity of the show, how it, brings people together, still does to this day. And, all the madcap fun they had while doing it, all the dangerous stuff that I'm surprised they didn't kill anyone while doing it. And, where Ghoulardi ended up and where it continues to go to this day. It's a fun little slice of life, or slice of era, maybe fun era. And if you're not familiar with Ghoulardi, definitely check this out. One of the things I loved about him that I wasn't really expecting, because a lot of the stuff that he does behind the scenes, the producers didn't really like him. When you drive a motorcycle into the studio and start lighting off fireworks everywhere inside, as you may imagine, the producers might be a little, okay, can we stop doing that? Oh, why don't you stay sick and turn blue? And then he basically tells them to fuck off. but he has a really creative spirit, and then they kind of go into all the stuff that all the charity events. They play like charity baseball or softball, and they would do all these charity events to like help the people out in the local area. And he was definitely a rebel, but he was also a really nice guy. And yeah, it's just fun to see someone like that kind of have their bit of success and then continue to have success later on.
I've never heard of this guy.
And he gave birth to Paul Thomas Anderson, so that's like a triple, quadruple win.
Bruce, have you ever seen any of that stuff?
Yeah, I've seen. There's collections of there was a whole bunch of different horror hosts that would be around the United States, and he's one of the more famous ones. And there was a period where you had a lot of those. And I think probably today I don't know what would be the most recognizable for most people would be probably Joe Bob Briggs is kind of an idea of it. But imagine if Bob Briggs was on like your local TV channel introducing movies like every Friday night.
Or Elvira, something like that.
Yeah, Elvira is another similar example. But there used to be like, there was like, 8 or 9 of those guys from the 60s through the maybe early 80s that would kind of pop, that were in various markets. And a lot of them had a lot of fun stuff. And they do these weird shticks, kind of play jokes on each other on the set and do like Eric is saying, doing lots of weird antics. So, it's really cool.
Huh.
And he also seemed like, because like Elvira and, well, maybe not so much, but Elvira is definitely horror. Like, she's firmly in horror. Ghoulardi, despite his name, he seemed more like a counterculture figure.
Yes.
I mean, he definitely did the creature feature stuff, but he was more of a counterculture character, as well as, I guess Joe Bob Briggs kind of fits into that, although he's more of a hillbilly type guy, I guess.
Yeah, and he's a product of the 80s too, so it's different, where a lot of, like you said, a lot of those guys came out of that late 60s, early 70s, so there's weird cross currents going on there as well. Yeah, totally.
Oh, interesting. Okay, and you can just get the stuff at the YouTube.
Yeah, it's a guy named Phil Hoffman. He's the one that made it, and it's on his YouTube channel. And from what I can tell, Phil Hoffman was a friend of his, and so a lot of the interviews they have are people that knew Ghoulardi back in the day.
Okay,
and it's just kind of them reminiscing about their friend. And
that is
he
very
seems
cool.
like a cool guy. I wish I would have known him. Oh. And our buddy Mark DeWidziak shows up in a cut. He's not in it very much, but he does pop up a couple times. So if you're a fan of Mark DeWidziak, as I am, definitely check that out.
As I am.
Yeah.
As of course, yeah. You had the epic interview. Check that out on Bruce Perky's Rustmeyer channel. How long did that interview go, Bruce? How long was that?
Oh my God, it's nearly 2 hours.
That is just
like he's the kind of guy we could do it. A 2-hour conversation every week and drop in with him. We definitely probably will try to get Mr. DeWidziak back for some special features for sure.
That would be very cool. That would be very, very cool. Now, speaking of cool, were you guys a fan last year of Parasite? And do both of you like Bong Joon-ho? Are both of you fans of the work of Bong Joon-ho?
Maybe, yes.
Maybe?
Very, very much so, yes.
Bruce, would you, first of all, right off the top of both of you guys, actually, favorite Bong Joon-ho film? Right off the top, what's yours? Bruce, what's yours first?
Probably Mother.
Mother, okay. Eric Holmes, what about you? What say you? Do you have a favorite Bong Joon-ho film?
I don't want to step on your thunder. It would be Memories of Murder.
Oh, is that right? Oh, you're not stepping on anyone's thunder because you can. By the way, Bruce, have you ever seen Memories of Murder?
Yep.
Okay. So both of you have seen it when? Years ago? You saw it years ago, Bruce?
Yeah, that's like the very first thing I saw of his, like shortly after it came out. So it's one I need to revisit because it's been so long that I barely remember it, other than I liked it a lot when I saw it.
Okay, well, you know what? First off, Memories of Murder, it's been out for years. It came out in 2003, okay? Now, here's the cool timely news. Because of the success of Parasite, there is this interest in South Korean films. Bong Joon-ho is obviously at the apex of that mountain. And now, Memories of Murder, as of this week, it's now available, a remastered version of Memories of Murder is available on video on demand. So remastered, you're thinking this is very cool.
I'm with you
I don't know
too.
if you yeah, so this is
Eric and
not
I, both of our eyes is a whoop.
yeah, it's not an arbitrary choice, but Eric, you said it's your favorite one, so that whether you saw it back in '03 or maybe saw it 3 weeks ago, what that's saying a lot. By what makes Memories of Murder your favorite Bong Joon-ho film?
I like the idea that it's basically about it's kind of similar to Zodiac in a lot of ways. It's a police department that's not really equipped to deal with the serial killer, and they got to deal with the serial killer. But it goes a little deeper than that because they just kind of want to find someone to pin it on and move on to the next thing. But they got the new guy in, and it's like, no, we can't do that. Dude, this is murder. We pin it on him, and they have a guy with what's a good word for it? I don't want to use the R word, but he's not all
Developmental disability or developmental.
There you go. So they're just gonna pin it on this poor guy. That's doesn't he's got the brain of a child. And if not for that new cop coming in, he gets the chair, like he gets executed for a murder he didn't do, and so it's fun. It's just a good movie all around.
Well, listeners, it's loosely based on a series of murders that happened in South Korea from the years 1986 to 1991. So this movie, Memories of Murder, is set around that time. Like Eric was saying, it centers on several detectives. Two of the detectives live within that small town in South Korea. Another detective, like Eric was saying, he comes in to join this task force. This other detective comes from Seoul, from the big city. So he has, like Eric was saying, he has his ways. He has the by the book ways. He's always saying, if it's on the document, that's how you follow the rules. You follow your lead. You read the document that by the book. And the other guys are a little bit. One guy played by, I'm really bad with this, Song Kang-ho from Parasite. We all know he's the lead actor in Memories of Murder. He plays the main cop who is the provincial cop. He's the guy in the town. He doesn't go by the document. He doesn't go by the book. And the way he actually catches people or is through his gut, by looking at a person right in the eye to see whether or not they are the killer. That's one of his main, so that doesn't jibe. So it's really interesting because the movie itself has all the tropes you see from a cop thriller. We've seen this before, Seven, all that stuff. We've seen it. Zodiac, like you were saying, Eric. But the way this movie's done, it's 137 minutes of immersion. It's scary. It has a little bit of that Hitchcockian pacing elements that we will see later, several years later, with Bruce's favorite movie of his, Mother. So This is sort of a precursor to Mother. Mother is my personal favorite from him. I still haven't seen Snowpiercer. And The Host, I think. Those are the two movies I haven't seen, but so far, this is one of my favorites. My favorite is Mother, but this one is still, I think, highly recommended for me. Another reason why it's timely, it's not just because it's remastered. I don't want to give anything away regarding the ending of this movie, but there is a recent situation regarding the serial killer and those murders from 1986 to 1991. Something surfaced about those killings recently in South Korea as of last year.
Oh, the ones it's based on?
Yes. So there is an update on that. Wow. So without giving too much away about Memories of Murder, so I'm probably tipping my hand with this, but we don't want to give too much away about what happens with this movie, but it's really timely right now. So watch Memories of Murder on VOD and then Google South Korea serial killer and your mind will probably be blown.
I cannot wait.
Would you say, Greg, would you say, since I haven't seen Memories of Murder for a long time, so it's pretty hazy as far as the overall plot and stuff on it, would you say that the two, that and Mother, are kind of like flip side points of view? Because Mother is so much a point of view of the the accused side of things and the mother and the person who's accused, as opposed to, even though there's investigation parts to it, the emphasis is different, if I remember
Sure.
correctly.
Yeah.
You know, you do. You know, Mother to me is a more personal, claustrophobic, mother and son. Okay, and it's
Yeah.
well, basically mother trying to absolve her son, trying to prove her son is innocent, and that whole thing. So we're actually enclosed in her space for the longest time, right? With Memories of Murder, like Eric was saying, it's really that procedural, that investigation. So it's more of an open book case. So it's actually more, in a weird way, more of an accomplished film than Mother. But what really gets you with Mother is the, the cinematic skill of Bong Joon-ho to tell such a personal story, but in such an amazing scope. And obviously, the ending of that movie is better than any ending of Bong Joon-ho's that I've seen.
good.
That's not negating anything he's done, but my goodness, Mother.
What I remember from Mother is that, and it's I'm kind of the exact opposite with Bruce. It's been a while since I've seen Mother, but it's seen Memories of Murder quite a bit. But the Mother is, she knows he's guilty and she's trying to kind of help him not prove his innocence, but kind of help him not be guilty or something like that, hide evidence, that sort of thing. Whereas Memories of Murder is, they know damn well the person that they have isn't guilty, but they're trying to make them guilty so they can just move on to the next thing.
Okay, so I don't know more about like the morality of the police and the procedures versus the morality of accused person, kind of.
They would definitely make a good double feature because I think you nailed it. They're almost the same movie, but flipped from flip flopped a little bit.
Actually, you haven't seen Mother in a while, and listeners. So I'm gonna say Eric hasn't seen the movie in a while, and when you're listening to this, I would suggest, if you have not seen Mother, please fast forward to or skip within the next 20 to 30 seconds, because I'm going to tell you that your interpretation of Mother is slightly skewed because spoiler alert, move fast 30, 35 seconds. Sorry if you haven't seen Mother, folks, cinephiles, you should have seen it by now. Your fault. But anyways, go 30 seconds ahead. I'm going to say a spoiler right now. Mother, the premise of Mother is and Bruce, you know this, you're in the life, you follow the mother. She's your Jimmy Stewart character throughout the entire Hitchcockian movie, and it's about her trying to tell the society that her son, her sweet, innocent, naive, mentally challenged son, is innocent. He couldn't even hurt a fly, like Norman Bates. So you're actually led to believe that this is a crime it's injustice. Most of Mother is about the injustice of humanity. How can they pick on this boy and this elderly woman? She's fighting against everything just to clear her son's name, and it's sort of a victory lap when she ultimately clears his name through sins of her own. But then why is the son not happy? Because he's the innocent one. Why doesn't he love his mother? And why is he dismissive?
All right. Because I didn't pick up on that at all. I thought he was guilty, and that she was trying to get him.
No, the whole premise is
he's not watching it again. Then.
Yeah. The whole premise is you're supposed to think he's completely, and what Bong does, he makes us really get into that world, and we think those two people are the most. The society is against both of these people, and then you realize at the end, these two people have committed absolutely horrific sins on humanity, but we ended up loving them up to that moment. And then whatever you want to do within that sequence is at the end, it's your call, right?
And
Bruce?
then the final shots of her. Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful.
The reason why, and you know what? I forgot. I'm horrible at this, guys, but I have to start tracking who said this, but one of the actors or filmmakers I interviewed recently said, I know people are going to get me for this. Everyone loves Parasite and or Snowpiercer, but my favorite Bong Joon-ho film is Mother. And I forgot who said it, but he was basically, and I was like, thank you for saying that, because Mother is an amazing, amazing film. That said, Memories of Murder out this week on VOD. We're sorry, we're not a spoiler podcast. We do swear. So this is my version of swear. I did swear last week with Shithouse, and I just swear it right now again. But the thing is, this is my version of swearing. I gave you a spoiler for Mother, and I'm sorry because even though I spoiled it for you guys, you're gonna have to see it anyway because it's an amazing movie. This movie, if you know the spoiler, actually it probably hurt you. I'm sorry. But anyways, that is Memories of Murder VOD this week. Check it out. It's remastered. I apologize for the Mother spoiler. We had to little shift with air combs. You can kill us.
The thing with the spoiler though is that Bong Joon-ho's movies are so layered though that like even it like we'll take Parasite since a lot of people have seen that. You give away the ending of Parasite, there's still so much like layers and ins and outs and everything that okay, you spoiled what happens at the end. But it's not like the Sixth Sense where that twist ending is the whole thing. There's so much more to dig through and find in that movie. So even knowing what the ending was is yes a spoiler, but it doesn't ruin the movie because his movies are so rich that there's plenty more to glean from it than just a twist ending.
What I want to know, the first Bong Joon-ho film that I've seen, that I ever saw, was Okja. And I really did not like that movie. I wonder now that since then, I've seen Mother, Memories of Murder, and Parasite. I wonder now if I go see Okja again, will I like it more because I now know who he is? Because it seems Okja was sort of I haven't seen Snowpiercer, but it seems that Okja was an outlier considering the tone of his work. But maybe I'm wrong. Who knows?
I mean, it's definitely different, but I mean, other than Mother and Memories of Murder, and I haven't seen his first one, the dogs,
right,
barking dogs never bite or whatever. I haven't seen that one, but the rest of his movies have I don't know, they all seem to be a little different because like Host is different than Snowpiercer, which is different than Okja, which is different than Parasite, which is different than Memories of Murder. Like Memories of Murder and Mother are the only two movies I can think of that share a lot in common. The rest of them, he kind of goes all over the place.
I can only think the thing that might kind of bother you is that the ones you're talking about you like so much are so much more grounded, and he definitely has a side of his movies like The Host and Snowpiercer and Okja, which are much more fantastical. They have a lot more fantastical elements or creatures, or they have like futuristic things or social commentary built into like a fantastical kind of a setup. So if that might not be quite your cup of tea, those might not appeal to you as much as Parasite, Memories of Murder, Mother, which are all relatively grounded, like realistic-ish stories,
Cool. Now, who's next? I forgot.
I think it's me.
You're next. What's your next? What's your next pick?
So I forgot to mention, all of my movies somehow have a slight relate to Joe Dante because we are doing our special Joe Dante deep dive this week. So I want to make sure that we're cross promoting that. In The Ring, we had Naomi Watts. Naomi Watts' first screen appearance in a feature is in Matinee, which we will discuss later.
Yes.
So that's the first connection. The next one I'm doing today is a brand new anthology on Shudder called the Mortuary Collection. And this to me is one of the best kind of classic horror anthologies that they've had in quite a while, since maybe Trick or Treat. If you know Trick or Treat, that's a really great one. Creep Show we talked about earlier. This is directed by Ryan Spindell, who hasn't done a bunch of other work yet. And the main character is Montgomery Dark, played by Clancy Brown.
Oh, great
Clancy
actor.
Brown has been in a million things, and you'll recognize him if you see him. He was in Shawshank. He was in Starship Troopers. I mean,
he's so good. Everything
a million
he's done.
things.
Yeah.
Now, here's the connect before I get into what the movie is. Clancy Brown is the guest on the most recent Joe Dante, Josh Olson podcast they put out all the time called The Movies That Made Me. Great podcast. I think it's a great companion podcast to us because they're constantly talking about movies that influence them, like weird, odd, creative movies. And in that episode, they were talking all about actually going to see matinees and stuff. And basically, Clancy Brown was talking about all the matinees that like affected him when he grew up. And at one point, he asked Joe Dante what was his most scary movie for him when he was a kid. And there's two. One was The Innocents, which we've talked about on here.
Yeah, I love that.
And the other was Them, about giant killer ants, which will relate to something we
Mans.
talk about in the Joe Dante episode. Anyway,
Yep. Very cool. Yeah.
so Montgomery Dark is this mortician. So the wraparound story, most of these have a wraparound story, the Crypt Keeper or something. This one has a very good wraparound story that actually has a story to it, which is really fun. And Montgomery Dark is this mortician. He runs this really old Gothic, mortician, mortuary or whatever, funeral home and everything. It takes place in Astoria. And if you know Astoria is where Goonies took place. So you can kind of picture that hillside, sort of seaside town. And he is being visited by a prospective employee named Sam. It's a young woman, and she comes in. And of course, the trope is that, I will tell you some stories about all the people that have come through, and each story is a story, and each one's a little more fantastical. And it's just a ton of fun. And if you like kind of that EC comic style, and EC comic style is the kind of creep show, if you want to know it, like where someone does something bad and they get their twist comeuppance in some creative way. And this has 4 stories. The stories are all really good. The quality of the production is super high on this. It looks like it could have been a theatrical release. It's very polished, very good. Does not look low budget. It's really, really, really good.
And is Montgomery Dark a memorable
awesome.
character?
He's very good. And this is to me kind of, other than the stories themselves, which all have good twists and are all good and they're fun. And, like most anthologies, each one's only 20 minutes, 25 minutes at the most. So, you stick with one and you're not into it as much, you got another one coming. So it's not terrible. But in most of these, you just have a Crypt Keeper just like making some jokes or something and cackling and moving along. But his character is great because he kind of is this sardonic, very, foreboding, telling the stories. But then he has this employee and she's just like, a young, sarcastic kid, and she's like, oh really, you're really playing it up, aren't you? So she's kind of busting his balls on it, and the way he reacts to it is really, really great. And their story is actually a story that plays out by the end, and it's a lot of fun. So and twists are good, and that's kind of the key to these. The stories have to be fun and the twists have to be good in each story, the revenge twist or whatever it might be. So if you're looking for a really good Halloween, it is gory, so it's not for kids. Like The Ring, you could have like my kid watch The Ring. I would not have him watch this movie. So,
okay, the Mortuary Collection. That is a huge Halloween pick for this week, and Shudder.
Yep.
Okay,
Gotta bring Shudder once in a while,
Okay, gotta pump Shudder on. Okay, so yeah, this is one of those movies. I'm looking at the poster, looks awesome, and Clancy Brown is always.
He's so good.
He's just a national treasure. So, all right, streaming on Shudder. Eric, do you have another pick?
I did. I seen they show the Invaders from Mars. It holds that would make the Swiss jealous. Enough padding you could make a pillow out of it. This was the Invaders from Mars is from 1953 and directed by William Cameron Menzies. And written by Richard Blake. This was one I picked. Ghoulardi's last TV appearance as Ghoulardi was with Joe Bob Briggs, and this was a movie he did. And of course, Ghoulardi goes on and starts trashing the movie, because that was kind of his thing. He watches the schlocky movies and watches them and trashes them. This movie is actually pretty good. The special effects are a little cheesy, but overall this was a good movie, and we'll get into the remake a little bit. But the basic premise is the kid, you got a little boy and his parents. They all live in this house, and the dad's kind of a science minded. The whole family's science minded, and the kid's staying up late looking through the telescope. Dad's like, "Oh, what you seeing there, kid?" He's like, "Oh, I saw something through the telescope. Oh, let's take a peek at it." And then the mom's like, "Henry, you guys need to go to sleep. Stop looking through the telescope." "Oh, shucks, Mom. I just wanted to see Pluto," and so on and so forth. But the kid goes to sleep, and Dad puts him to sleep. and everyone's asleep. And then all of a sudden, the kid wakes up because he sees a green light flashing outside, and he looks outside, and this is flying saucer, and it just kind of lands behind the tree. And he takes a telescope and kind of looks at it, and it's gone by this point. He can't quite see what it is, but he thought it was kind of weird. It's Dad, wake up! And it's like, oh, what's going on there, son? I don't know. I saw something. It was something in the sky. It's like it crashed. He's like, no, it didn't crash. It landed over there. And it's like, well, you're probably just imagining things. Just go to sleep, and we'll take care of it tomorrow. And so the kid, goes to sleep, and then the dad goes to starts putting his shoes on. Mom's like, where are you going? And it's like, the boy said he saw something. And it's not like him to just come up with stories. It's pretty science-minded like the rest of us, so I better go check it out. And he goes and checks it out. And this, so the craft lands on this kind of this sandbar in the middle of nowhere. It's just sand. And the dad falls into the sand. There's like this choir music, like, and the sand opens up, and the dad falls down it. And then they wake up the next day. The mom wakes up the kid, and it's like, hey, where's Dad? He must have left early. I don't know. And then the dad comes, and he's like, how's it going, son? How's it going, wife? And then they're like, Dad, what's wrong with you? It's like, nothing's wrong with me. What are you looking at? There's nothing wrong with me. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Do not talk to me. Do not look at me. And so one by one, people start the opens it up, swallows people, and they pop out later as they're clearly possessed by something. And then the son kind of notices that, like, when his dad smacks him, he's like, my dad doesn't do this. There's something wrong here. And so it's the kid trying to get everyone to figure out that there's something going on. There's something possessing my parents, and so on and so forth. And then the rest of the movie takes place. And this is really good. And the cheese, when they finally showed the, when they show the Martians, like the special effects get a little cheesy, but there's like this head brain Martian thing.
Like a ball thing, like a sphere. Yeah.
That thing is creepy looking.
It's kind of like a head with like octopus arms, kind of, right?
Yeah,
like
it looks like a
ball.
green. If you watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it looks like Krang but green. But yeah, that's pretty. The ending's nothing to write home about. It's pretty much what you expect the ending like that to be. But they do take some chances. There's a that would be a spoiler, so I'm not going to go any further there. There's certain characters that meet certain fates that you would not expect a movie like this to go there, and then it does. And the whole time I was watching this, I was like, you could make a really good remake of this, and apparently they have.
Yeah,
Bruce has seen that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's great, but yeah, there is a remake from the 80s that Toby Hooper famously made Texas Chainsaw
Life
Massacre.
Force. Oh, that too.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say Life Force. So he had a weird thing in the 80s where he made two pretty great, cheesy, almost B-level sci-fi movies. And one of them is Life Force, which I saw in the theater. And the other is Invasion from Mars, which I saw in the theater. So both are kind of logically terrible, but lots of fun to watch. So, and if I remember correctly, I could be wrong, I think the remake has Louise Fletcher in it. Nurse Ratched. I'm pretty sure she has a small part in it. And
I know Kate Black's Karen Black's in it, right?
Oh, Karen Black, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Karen Black. And then, Louise Fletcher's in it as well.
I remembered it. Good.
And Lorraine Newman, Timothy Bottoms. What a cast. Bud Cort.
Yeah, it's very faithful, honestly. I don't think it did very well because people were like, what's this very cheesy, like 50s style sci-fi movie in the 80s? They don't change it a ton. It's still pretty safe for that level. It's not like gory or anything really overall. And it's very, very, very similar to the original. So you would probably enjoy at least checking out parts of it. Go online and probably watch a collection of clips from it.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check it out. I did this one because of the whole Ghoulardi connection, And I thought this would just be one that I'd be tearing apart, haha, this movie's schlocky, it sucks. Ooh, I'm Ghoulardi, go back to Parma, that sort of thing. But I ended up watching, I'm like, nah, I actually really like this one. It's
Yeah.
not Plan 9. This one's probably more like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, or
Yes.
like
That level,
like-
really?
actually a really good example would be like They Live. You go into They Live
Yep.
thinking it's going to be this complete cheeseball movie, and it actually turns out to be really good. And this is kind of on that level. Not quite on the level of They Live, but it's like much better than you think it might be,
Right.
especially considering it's a movie called Invaders from Mars.
And it's definitely like it has that whole and I'm talking about the original one. The new one does too, but the original one has that whole like a kid having to solve the aliens are coming, like he's kind of going to save the day, and it's definitely one of those movies where it's trying to put the kid in the spot to be the hero and really get that kid audience that would come on like a Saturday afternoon,
Yeah.
So it
and
fits.
they don't waste a lot of time with, like, there's a couple characters, like the police characters, that are like, oh, come on, kid, quit telling tall tales out of school, that sort of thing. But they do away with a lot of that, because apparently it's a small knit town or small knit group of people, so they know him. So when he says, I think I saw something, a spaceship or whatever, they're not, beat it, kid, you don't know what you're talking about, let the adults talk here, see. They actually listen to him, and then so they do away with that. The whole movie's not, oh, I know this thing and no one will believe me. There's a little bit of that, but they dispel with that almost immediately and actually get into the meat of the story.
Okay, so Invaders from Mars. First of all, the remake is streaming on Tubi, Tubi. Tubi,
Yeah.
it's a streaming service that Bruce likes. He's used it a couple times for some of the reviews. And for the Eric Holmes' review for Invaders from Mars, that version, the 1953 version, is available streaming on Tubi and Flix Fling as well. So cool. So yeah, you can go to Tubi for your Invaders from Mars resources. You can watch the original and the remake. I like the idea when you said it actually upends expectations, Eric Holmes. So that is really cool. So Bruce, do you have one or two more before to get us out?
I have one more.
Okay.
And like the other two, it does have a relate to Joe Dante, mostly because it was directed by Joe Dante.
It's a good reason.
Yeah, I just thought go straight to the source on that one. So I had never seen The Burbs. And I know it's a beloved movie for a lot of people, especially after the fact. I think in the last 20 years, a lot of people have really started to revere The Burbs. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go check out The Burbs. It is available on Stars, but I just went and bought the DVD because we should just go buy DVDs, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. We should just go buy DVDs.
So
yeah.
I did that. And Andrew and I watched The Burbs together as well.
Please tell me that Andrew loved it.
He loved it. He loved The Burbs.
Thank goodness.
He really enjoyed it. He liked The Ring a lot too. So, oh my gosh, how can we get into The Burbs? First of all, you got Tom Hanks as the star. And I think this is either right around the time of maybe Big. He's just starting to blow up at this point, I think.
He's on the cusp, sort of, maybe?
Yeah, he's still kind of known as that's still back when he was known as the comedic actor.
Yeah.
He hasn't quite hit the dramatic thing, I don't think.
Yeah, so he's Ray. He's married to Carrie Fisher, which is also a rare, Carrie Fisher role that's not a Star War, And he lives in this suburban cul-de-sac. And the wonder of this story, and we'll talk more about Joe Dante when we get into the Joe Dante one. The wonder of this movie is that there really isn't a whole lot of a plot to this movie. It's kind of like Big Lebowski or something, like where you've got a basic plot to get a bunch of characters together, but the real fun of the story is the characters and all of the movie love and the weird things that he throws in here. And basically you have a group of neighbors. Bruce Dern's one of them, the awesome Bruce Dern. Who else?
Rick Dukeman.
Corey Feldman,
yeah.
Yep. And then they have this one house on the block, kind of like the Addams Family. That's the weirdo house, like the it's right next door to Tom Hanks' house, and his green lawn ends right at the property line and becomes brown dirt and scrub grass. And at night there's strange sounds and lights coming out of there. And the motley group of neighbors kind of band together to basically uncover what nefarious things might be going on or not going on in their little suburban, enclave there. And there's at one point, there's the one neighbor, and it's played by, I want to make sure I get this right. Is it Gail Gordon? Walter? Gail Gordon. I think I got the name right on that one.
Okay,
he is
yeah.
the kind of the older guy with the little poodle. He lives at the end of the block, and he disappears. And they're like, okay, that's it. The weird house. They killed him, and they're gonna like solve this murder mystery or whatever. Great characters throughout. I mean, if I didn't name enough people you're interested in seeing, then I don't know what to tell you.
You know what's weird about the Burbs is you think, because what we know of Tom Hanks now, we think it's a Tom Hanks film, and a lot of the
Right.
movie is Tom Hanks setting up everyone to shine, which is
Yes.
Bruce Dern's awesome. Rick Dukeman left us way too early, and you go, man, Rick Dukeman had more opportunities. He steals every
Yep.
scene he's in. He's so
Yep.
funny in this one. Corey Feldman's awesome. I mean, we're
Yep.
going to be talking about Corey Feldman quite a bit with Dante and stuff like that. So, and Dick Miller plays a garbage man in this
Yes.
film. So Dick Miller, listeners, as you know, he's a Joe Dante favorite as far as his acting troupe. So I think, to be honest, The Burbs was the first Joe Dante film I'd seen, and that was as of maybe 2 years ago. And the funny thing about that is, when we look back, this movie was released in 1989.
Mm-hmm.
I would say we go back, I guess all of us, we go back to the 80s and we'll watch a movie and say, oh, well, I like this movie because it's kitschy. It reminded me of my time as growing up in the 80s. It's cheesy. It's fun. It's of its time and place. But
Yep.
you look at something like The Burbs and you go, it's fun, a little bit cheesy, but it's not of its time and place. You could literally, Andrew loved
Yes.
it. This is a movie that you don't have to, growing up in the 80s is not a big prerequisite for absolutely thinking this movie is genius and fun. So it lasts. It's a transcendent film.
It is.
Dante. Yeah.
And it has a very, like you said, the timeless quality. Part of that is the way he infuses all of these influences from different generations into his movies, and the way he shoots it it's on the back lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on a street that's been used in like almost every sitcom, like the Munsters, and all these other houses are actually there. If you look closely, you'll see them because he's using all these facades that have been used a million times. We'll talk about other Joe Dante where he does similar things. We need to let Eric talk too. But before we leave this, I'll tell you a couple great little trivia pieces too. And this will be one of two movies that we talk about when we get to Joe Dante, where there is dog trivia and monkey trivia.
Oh, wow. Oh, very cool. Dog and
Okay. I think I might know what one of those are.
very cool.
So Eric, what was your thoughts about this?
Yeah, Eric Holmes, by the way, he's a huge Joe Dante fan, and I've been hearing Joe Dante come out of his mouth for the last couple of years. So we're just waiting.
Well, I mean, first of all, if you haven't seen The Burbs, it's essentially Rear Window, but instead of in one apartment, it's in one cul-de-sac. And like Bruce said, the characters are what makes this movie.
Yeah.
And the weird thing, like I mean, you pretty much said everything there's to say. I was thinking of the poster where it's Tom Hanks sitting there and it's like The Burbs, and we were talking about where it came into his career. I could be wrong, but that's see, he did was it the
Big?
Splash?
No, the Bachelor Party and the one with the house.
The Money Pit.
The
Money Pit.
Money Pit, yeah.
So I remember Burbs coming out and seeing those. It's like, oh, you know, for some reason I got the Bachelor Party and Money Pit mixed up in my head as the same thing. So I remember seeing the picture of The Burbs with Tom Hanks sitting there, like just kind of disheveled. I'm like, oh, this is a sequel to The Money Pit. But it was not a sequel to The Money Pit. I'm just a dumbass. But yeah, it's a good movie. And I could be wrong. I believe Nicky Katt is in The Burbs as well.
I believe you're right. Yeah,
he plays one of Corey Feldman's buddies because Corey Feldman basically, he starts a party over this house so they can watch the neighbors be assholes.
Yep. And that's what's again, like it's just great. Like you just want to sit with these characters and watch them interact. And all of the characters, the crazy neighbors are great. They're all just fun. So a couple weird trivia pieces I'll throw in here, unless you guys have someone else first. One thing I wanted to say, and we'll reiterate this, I'm sure, on the Joe Dante special thing, but Joe Dante probably has more Easter eggs and more movie like in jokes and secret little Easter eggs and stuff than any other director other than maybe Tarantino. You know,
Yeah.
if you look at a trivia, you know, you go to IMDb and there's trivia for each movie, and you know there might be a page for a movie that's been out for a while. You go to any Joe Dante movie and look at the trivia pages, and it's like pages and pages and pages and pages. There's so much stuff packed into his movies, and the casts are almost always giant. So, but I'll just give you like 2 or 3 fun little ones into this one. One is, here's the monkey bit. So this was when Corey Feldman was really good friends with Michael Jackson during this period. Michael Jackson was never on the set, but Bubbles was on the set like a lot. So,
Wow.
but they wouldn't let Bubbles onto the actual set. So he had to stay in Corey Feldman's trailer. And I guess after one especially bad day, the trailer was just trashed and covered in poop and everything. And they were like, that's it. Bubbles isn't allowed anymore. So that was the weird monkey trivia.
Beat it, Bubble.
Yeah. Another one was at one point when they're trying to figure out what's going on with the neighbors, Tom Hanks is looking at this book on demonology. I don't know if you remember that, guys. But he's looking at this book of demonology, and it's written by, I had to look it up, Julian Carswell. And when I was looking, I was like, Julian Carswell, why do I know that name? I looked up Julian Carswell. Julian Carswell is the evil demon worshiper in one of my favorite B movies of all time, which is Curse of the Demon, starring Dana Andrews.
Wow.
And just the fact that he threw that little thing in there, if you want to see it, it's there. If you don't, it doesn't matter. He threw it in there. Another little thing in this, there's a point where they finally go into the weird house, right? And you might remember this, guys. There's a painting on the wall, a weird, like abstract painting. And I forget, one of the neighbors keeps trying to switch it around. They put it upside down and right side up. And they're trying to figure out which way it goes. That painting is from an episode of Night Gallery. It's just there.
Oh, whoa.
There's
That is
no
very
reason.
cool.
It's just there. And this movie and all of Joe Dante's movies are full of stuff like that. It's so full of the love of movies. And the difference to me between that and Tarantino is Tarantino does those things, and they work a lot of times, but they're kind of to make him cool, to kind of give him credit. You know what I mean? Like to kind of make it like extra hip.
Sure. Yeah.
But I feel like in Joe Dante's movies and they're in there just from pure geek movie love. Like he's just like Dick Miller. He loves Dick Miller. So
Yeah.
he'll put Dick Miller in every movie. You know, so that's it. So
That is
the
so
Burbs.
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done so many movies, and I can't wait till we talk about Joe Dante next week. We're going to talk about Joe Dante next week for our show because right now I'm not going to. I don't know what time it is right now for you guys, and I know listeners around this time I go to bed by. And my eyes are sleepy right now. I'm gonna go because and we're gonna talk. Joe Dante is Eric Holmes. He got the gremlin thing. What's the name? Stripe? Sorry, what is it? Bruce? Eric? What's the name?
Stripe.
Oh, that is a great voice. That is a great voice because our next episode for Joe Dante, and then you have. Oh, there you go. A Fangoria Gremlins. Yeah, folks. Yeah, we need a lot of time for the next Joe Dante episode. There's a lot of things we really need to unpack, and that'll be for our next director spotlight next week. So anything, Eric, do you want to say anything else before we're out of here regarding Halloween? Any other side thoughts just in general?
I only got a few things to say to you. Very spooky people. Stay sick. Turn blue. Don't go to Parma. Hey, what's a good show, group? Call me King.
Okay, there you go. And Bruce said, I'm not going to ask you to top that, but anything else you want to say?
No, that's good.
Okay, all right. More Ghoulardi, more Joe Dante for next week. Sorry, guys, you're gonna love the Joe Dante stuff for next week, and we'll see you next week on Find Your Film. And have a happy and safe Halloween. And